My prediction on the metaverse is that it's going to be a lot like the internet was predicted to be in the 2000s, where at first everyone's like, retail is dead, like this, like year 2000, retail is dead, it's all going to be internet. And then everybody predicted that, but it didn't happen initially, right? They were like, no, this whole idea of internet shopping, like we thought it would be big, but it turns out that everyone just still kind of wants to go to the mall. It's not that big. But then slowly but surely, Amazon just takes over. And I think the metaverse will be very much like that. And it's going to allow and enable people not to have social skills. And it's, I'll go a little bit deeper on this. Like, let me just get even a little bit crazier on this. Like, unfortunately, like I am definitely pro-capitalist, but capitalism all the way, because I'm pro-freedom. I have freedom on my hat here with an eagle. That should tell you how strongly I feel about this. But the challenge that we're going to see, like, and this is one of the I love capitalism, but it also has problems. Like, you can love something but still admit it has problems. And one of the problems with capitalism is, like, as a marketer, it forces you to really look at what clients will actually reward with money. You follow what I'm saying, right? Like, it's like, what will clients actually reward with money? And so, you might have had somebody like, growing oranges and then, having this really beautiful process to make orange juice. But then later they realized, why don't we just get, high fructose corn syrup, put a chemical of orange in it with a carbonated drink, and we can make Orange Crush, and we can make more money off Orange Crush. And so what happens is that it kind of hits people at the lowest common denominator, where, basically what capitalism does, which again, total pro-capitalism, total pro-freedom. I just wish that people would have better education on how it's impacting them. My view is that we should mitigate this with education, not with government legislation. Like, well, you're not allowed to drink an Orange Crush, and then we're going to tell you what else you're not allowed to do, and you can't leave. I won't go there, but anyway, I'm not going to go there. But but the point being is, like, I just think we should solve it with education. But I think, the problem is, like as an example, I'm about to go skiing in Aspen, right? That costs thousands of dollars. That takes driving. We're actually going to drive there. That takes preparation, accommodation, physical fitness, which I'm not super fit, but physical fit enough to ski. There's danger. I recently saw Liam Neeson in Los Angeles. His wife died skiing, right? It can kill you. Super sad, this poor guy. There's risk to your life. There's organization. I'm going to teach my children how to ski. That's going to be a whole process. They're probably going to cry and whine and say they hate it, and then they, right? It's going to be a process. Before they love it, they're going to hate it. And so as a result of that, something like the metaverse, when it eventually does take over, it's going to say to yourself, do you really want to spend thousands of dollars, time, energy, driving, transport, risking your life, risking getting hurt, being tired, et cetera, to ski? Or do you just want to turn on the metaverse and have all the exact same fun of skiing? And the challenge is, this is also going to be in personal relationships. Like, one of the major things that makes you grow as a human being is personal relationships. And when you're in a relationship, you're going to have trauma, and the other person's going to have trauma, and that's going to rise up and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to have arguments, and to get it, like, for me to get a relationship, like, I will literally go out to bars and clubs. I'll meet thousands of people. I'll bring like hundreds of people up to my house. It costs thousands of dollars to put on those parties because there's like damage to the house and damage to everything, and it's like, literally, there's so much work that goes into that. And then once I'm in a relationship, that I have to deal with all the ups and downs of that. Well, why do that when you could just go in the metaverse and you could have a virtual reality of, a relationship and all the intimacy and physical intimacy and all that within 2 seconds, probably with someone who's even more attractive than you'd actually meet in real life, because the metaverse will make it perfect. So, and you don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be, the same person. It's just changing. And that's what capitalism is going to do. It's going to literally bring it to the point where the lowest common denominator will occur, and you're never in any way, shape, or form going to have to grow. And this is the problem that we're seeing. And that is why, Julien, what you're teaching as far as social skills is so relevant, because if you have these kinds of skills right here, highvibecommunication.com, when you have skills like this, you're going to be that person who's able to do it in real life. And if you think that now, just with some silly little device like this, that people are getting addicted on that, and they're just getting hooked on this, if you think that that's, getting crazy, imagine what's going to be happening when the metaverse takes over, and people can now just get instant results in a fictional universe. Now, by the way, like most things, the metaverse won't be all bad. I think it'll create the opportunity to make sales for artists. I think there could be some very beautiful, like I'd love to use the metaverse to create some beautiful projects in AI. Make it so, like, I mean, there's so many beautiful things that we can do with those mediums that are artistic, that are creative, that are beautiful. But the question is, are you going to make that a drug addiction where you can't come out of it? Or is it just like another cool way to connect and to communicate? And so, and that's where we're going. One of the reasons why, I wear a cross is because the idea of the crucifixion is the idea that our second birth or our awakening comes through pain. It comes through torment and through pain, and allows us to disconnect from those initial like physical pleasures and connect to our core essence and to our higher power. And then that does happen in the process of pain. And that's what I'm saying is, do you want to be the muddy piggy or do you want to be the pretty princess? In the metaverse, you're going to be the pretty princess all day. It's going to be the whole pretty princess reality. And the real world is grubby, it's dirty, it's dangerous, it's effort-filled, it's painful. But the result of it is that it helps you to disconnect from the ego or the intellect only and have it as a guiding light, but not as your identification. It gets you to get out of the physical intelligence, and that, I mean, the body's intelligence, if we're being honest, is basically sociopathic. You look at a grizzly bear, beautiful animals. I've been around them this year in person, but like they do horrifying things, like the most disgusting. I mean, these bears will literally like a male bear will see a female bear that's impregnated by another male bear, and they'll go and start jumping on its stomach to do a forced abortion, and then go do these horrifying things, like then get their kid from the bear. It's disgusting. And that's because that bear, it's a beautiful animal, and the bear has no excuse, it's not a human, or the bear has an excuse, it's not a human, but that's the physical intelligence, right? Like when people go into pure physical intelligence of the body, that's where the sociopathy of the Richard Dawkins selfish gene comes in, and it just, it does crazy things. When people go just in the ego, that's what creates that maniacal ego intelligence, and that's not healthy. When we connect to our core essence and to our higher power, that's where empathy comes in, the win-win comes in, the spreading value comes in, the cup runneth over and wants to be, in the creative, that creative genesis comes in from that connection to your core essence. And that's what you want to be feeding. Well, guess what? Embarrassment, humiliation, pain, boredom, something like a meditation connects you to your core essence, because you're not getting what you want in the physical. You're not getting any food for the ego. You're getting food for the soul. And so that, again, learning things like high vibe communication, something that gets you out of just the physical, something that gets you just out of your ego, but learning to connect at that essence level where deep abiding fulfillment and presence and release of trauma and connection to beauty, you connect to that. And when you come from that space, all of a sudden, that is when the cup runneth over. That is the true beauty of life. That is the true joy of life. But as the metaverse comes in and just gives us exactly what we want, those skills will become eroded. The same way that, a hunter in Africa who is so beautiful and can go out and use their natural physical skills, and that would get eroded if they move into a city. Well, our connection to our higher self will get eroded as the metaverse and things like that come into play. And so this is where you want to be building these skills now before you become some plugged-in junkie who basically is living in what at its core is essentially Satanism, which is total obscuring of that connection to your higher self, because you're not having pain, you're just getting more and more of what you want. And there will be beautiful art that will come from this, and beautiful things that will come from it, and beautiful experiences. People who are poor can see what the world looks like and use their imagination, and there'll be new forms of commerce from it, a lot of good things. But there's also going to be a lot of dependencies that are created. I mean, if you think human beings have fallen apart from like our glorious days when we were wild and free compared to now, well, the next level of capitalism is gonna take us further and further from that. So, I'll be on Tim Pool December 30th, most likely. I'm talking to Tim about it, and I think honestly that'll be a big thing I want to bring up with him. We'll see if he wants to go there or not. It's up to him. But also talking to you now. You don't need to wait for me to jump on Tim Pool right now today. What you need to be doing, get on this high vibe communication and learn not just to be in your ego, not just to be in the physical intelligence, but to connect your core essence, coming from a place of a powerful foundation, of being connected to that core essence. And then what I want you to do is connect to that and learn how to connect with other people. I'm telling you, this is going to be so incredible when you do this. And that's what Julien is trying to teach you. And we're some of the last of the Mohicans here trying to really teach you this at a core level. This will be something you teach your children, something you teach everybody. Get on this now. And Julien, I'm sure you'd have a lot of your own opinions about this as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just in terms of the whole, was it Pretty Princess and the Muddy Piggy? That's what also trying to have everything perfect before jumping in is. You're trying to avoid that quote unquote pain. You're trying to avoid the discomfort. You're trying to avoid that pressure, that like just the mud, and you can't. Like the mud is part of the growth. You want to grow, you have to jump into the mud, wash it off. You can't just walk around it. And one thing that I wanted to add when you were talking about the metaverse is that, yes, right, social skills are getting eroded. Now, funny enough, though, High Vibe is going to teach you how to socialize in the real world, but also how to have an upper hand in the metaverse. Because even metaverse-wise, like, I mean, nowadays, like you jump on, say, a Zoom call, you jump on a Skype call, you're on an interview, you're talking to someone, you're in the metaverse talking to someone. Most people, their skills are still terrible. However, the scarier thought, though, is that you'll have your one up now, but as society lives more and more in the metaverse, social skills will erode more and more and more to the point where, who knows, this could be a crazy idea, but to the point where people will now prefer socializing with AIs versus other people. like it's like that movie, was it Her with Joaquin Phoenix, right? Like everyone has their own like AI and they're in love with the AI because they have zero ability to even connect with others. They just need this virtual mirror to just reflect back to them that everything they say and everything they think is good. And everyone will be living in these little pods with their little AI partner. I mean, what a scary idea. But yeah, I mean, the metaverse is one of those things, just like social media, right? It's like use it, don't get used by it. High vibe communication is one of those things that teaches you about the subtleties so you do have access to the real world. So you actually have the choice, like, you know what? I'll dip my toes in the metaverse for this, but I'm not dependent on it. I'm not running away from the real world. That's really the audit to make here. And ultimately, social skills, like humans, we are creatures of relationships, right? Like everything in our life is a relationship. The relationship we have to our friends, our family, our partner, to work, to everything. It's all relationships. We are social creatures. We crave that connection. There's that study now where it's like we're more, you could say that there's that virtual connection, but everyone feels much more lonely, and that's just going to amplify. And for that, yes, you need a lot of inner work. And that is also in high vibe communication. But you also need that ability to, hey, you know what? I'm going to be human for a little bit. I'm going to unplug from all this. I'm going to go out in the real world and be human, right? Even if you take I was talking to my trainer about this, and he was like, you know how I describe my job? And he'll do a lot of virtual trainings too. He's amazing. He's like, I describe my job. It's people pay me for 1 hour where I remind them what it's like to be human. Because what he's telling you to do is what your ancestors would just naturally do, right? It's like, hey, move your body a little bit instead of just always staying still, like in your chair position or on your phone. It's like, hey, move your body how it's supposed to move. And I think that'll also start shifting where people will start paying more and more to just have human-like experiences because we're getting way more and more sucked in here. So if you want the peak of the peak human-like experience, if you really want to reconnect with what it's like to be human at a core, high vibe.